I'll tell you what, everyone. This show started because I saw something happening at the council that wasn't fair or informed. When Councilman Priggs and the previous mayor decided that all pit bulls were evil, I knew that something had to be done, or at least talked about with puppets. When I saw a grudge match happening between the mayor and the fire department, I felt that something had to be said. Now we're in a situation where one new business owner is ruled to be okay, and the other is ruled to be questionable. The fact that they both run the same sort of business doesn't seem to be germane to the council or the conversation. So now we're back with another pit bull type story full of assumptions and generalizations and stereotypes without any actual research or data. So before we really dig in, we should probably understand the stakes and what we're talking about. Two businesses came to Elgin looking for the approval to set up shop. Both of these businesses are tattoo parlors, one of which intends to open at 73 South Grove and the other at 210 DuPage Street. Now, each business applied for a conditional use permit that allows them to exist in a building that was originally zoned for a different purpose. And both businesses made it through the Planning and Zoning Committee with recommendations of approval. Now, one of the businesses came in with a plan to do a tattoo business and also to open an art gallery. This seems to fit within the city roadmap of turning the entire downtown into one big art gallery and pizza destination. So their petition was heard and approved fairly quickly with what seemed to be minimum discussion. When the second tattoo shop was brought up in the very same meeting, all sorts of shit seemed to hit the fan in a series of nitpicky arguments based around the strange idea that one tattoo shop was okay because of their proposed art gallery, and the other, who plans to open a graphic design shop for city business, was, for some mysterious reason, completely not okay. Now, this wasn't a universal reaction. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilman Lone Ranger.
Yes, just a brief comment. I struggle to, as a council, to say yes to a business and no to a business when the business is valid and legal, and so I will be supporting both of them tonight, unless I hear something different for the second one. I guess I just struggle where when we as a city try to pick winners and losers in the business field, that's up to the business owner to do that, in my view. And so, as long as it's legal and they comply by the codes that we've outlined, I'm willing to support that.
Now, the major point of contention seems to be based around the idea of the art gallery space. Of course, I've done my homework, and I know, if not the reason, certainly one of the contributing factors for the council members that voted this down, and it must make corporate counsel sweat every time someone up there opens up their mouth. But regardless of how close the council wants to dance with a discrimination lawsuit, they are debating the merits of the business, so that's what I'll be talking about. Now, full disclosure, I have a tattoo. I love it. My sister and brother-in-law ran Bulldog Tattoo in Crystal Lake, and once in a while I'd go hang out. I designed my tattoo, and the artists at Skin of a Different Color in Aurora interpreted it. Free plug! Out of nothing came something. A small example of self-expression interpreted and executed by an artist. That's one of the base definitions of art. You don't have to enjoy it or understand it, but that doesn't diminish what it is. I don't enjoy opera, for example, but I'd never accuse it of not being art. At the council meeting on September 11th, a couple members of the public stood up and had something to contribute to the debate. Now, I'm sure you'd expect, as I did, a cogent discussion of the pros and cons of approving two shops.
We were taught that if you wanted no unintended consequences, abstinence was the best policy. No unintended consequences if you didn't have any sex.
So the tattoo shops are going to have sex with us?
But it was always coupled, pardon the pun, with abstinence. No unintended consequences. But the third and most important thing they discussed was that hope was not a method.
I think the best reaction to that wonderfully vague speech came from Siggy Simonis, who gave me permission to use this. I know she probably just asked something innocuous like, I don't get it, but I'd like to imagine it was more like, what the f*** is she talking about? Marion the librarian was followed by her friend, who was slightly more coherent.
I took some time to review other communities' conditional use processes and found several communities that identify certain classes of business that would require a more stringent conditional use application process. I'd be happy to share those communities with you as well. Some of those businesses included massage parlors, tattoo parlors, taxi services, businesses and services that involve interaction with youth and teens, sale of tobacco, for example. Other communities have identified some businesses and services where additional review is beneficial and warranted, a more proactive than reactive approach.
Cab companies. How did cab companies get thrown into the mix? Oh, you scourge! How dare you transport citizens to their destinations with your contraptions? I do declare, if I see your ilk from the vantage point of my ornithopter, I shall mince words, sir. Well, that character didn't test well anyway. The owner of Top Notch Tattoo on Chicago Street also stood up and talked about the fragility of the tattoo business. Now, I've never been in their shop. It looks nice, and I agree that increased competition breeds increased competition. I also subscribe to the idea that it breeds better art. Additionally, I've talked to some shop owners, and they all agree with what the DuPage Street lawyer said when he talked about tattoo artists developing a following that become loyal to a particular artist's technique or style. This is exactly why we can have 5 hair salons downtown. Tattoo shops don't sit on wellheads. They don't breed customers in the city they spring up in. People journey to get a good tattoo, and that's exactly what the city should be chasing. Now, 2 final points. The first is that even though the shop on Grove promises to open an art gallery, their petition doesn't stipulate that as condition. This means that as business owners, they could decide to instead turn that into additional money-making real estate if the gallery aspect doesn't draw in the throngs of people who are already coming to Elgin to enjoy our spacious art galleries. Now, this also means that the owner of the shop on DuPage could have promised an even better art gallery, and based on the council's objections, would have been a shoo-in, but they aren't doing that. They want to expand into business and vehicle graphics, yet another avenue of tax revenue that some on the council don't seem moved by. Finally, and most important if you're keeping track of irony, there are at least 7 places within walking distance of the downtown where people can drink, and at least 1 place where you can even puke on the sidewalk when you've had too much. Which do you think makes our police force more nervous? Bars that stay open until 2? Or tiny shops run by business owners that just want to see their artists and their businesses succeed? Council, you don't have to agree or enjoy this style of art, but if art is your goal, and bringing people into the city is your goal, then you'll be missing an opportunity to provide both if you vote against this shop. Now, next time, we'll be talking about the results of this vote, and I'll introduce you to more characters that will be representing our new council people. We'll see you next time, Elgin.